Hello everyone and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we are on the map Cirillata and we have two very prominent 1v1 players here. We have Blodir in blue playing Cortex in the bottom left hand corner, and in the top right hand corner we have the man Mr. Ubivator playing in red as Armada. Now Ubivator is starting off bot lab and is actually only going a 2-mech start into bot lab rather than going 3 mexes. And Blodir actually doing the exact same here, which means both players are going to be fairly even. He might be doing this because, you know, bot labs don't use much metal as opposed to vehicles, so you can start on a 2 metal start. And moving slightly forward to get this last metal point is not that bad of an idea. Now, we do have obviously different factions here. We're going to see a lot of ticks probably coming out from Mr. Ubivator, whereas we can only get grunts from the bot lab of Mr. Blodir. And we're going to just zoom out a minute and have a look at this map. Now, what is there of note on this map? Well, this map can be played as an FFA map where it's split across in corners like that. And then you can actually have 3 people on each team as Blodir's start position and these other spots there. And as you can see, it's the same all the way around. Which this does mean that there is a lot of metal to be had on this map. And I've realized I need to change that setting off. There we go. And there's a lot of metal to be had, so that's just something to bear in mind when playing on this map. There is a lot of metal and you need to expand and capture as much of it as you can. And with that, we actually see Ubivator already doing this, starting to expand to the nearest point possible, whereas Blodir is yet to expand whatsoever, and instead going for a very early radar, which will help spot where all these ticks are. Now, speaking of radar, as you can see, there's a lot of ridge lines, a lot of little cliff bits that are going to block this radar. But because he's built it so high, he's managing to get around there. And Blodir is apparently washied. Don't know if that's supposed to mean wasted or what, I don't know, but whatever washied is, if you know what that is, feel free to let me know in the comments. Another thing to note about this map during this early phase, this pawn is actually going to get taken out, yep, no worries there, is that the middle of this map does have a very, very large metal point of a 5 metal income. Now, if you get a Tech 2 extractor on that bad boy, you are going to be raking in the money. Another thing of note is on the direct north, south, east, west points of the map, there are these small, tiny islands here that have a 2 metal on. Now, this is probably never going to get capped in this sort of a game mode. Another thing of note is there are a lot of water access points. You can see there that I'm drawing on the map here. And this does mean that if you go vehicles on this map and use amphibious, you could maybe sneak into the back of your enemy's base without them knowing. You snuck some amphibious tanks all the way around here, you know, without the opponent knowing, come up on the back line and then start wreaking havoc. It's a long way for units to travel, but you could inflict significant damage to your opponent with very little risk of them getting detected. So right now, you can see here the Ubivator's positioned some forces on the left corner here, just to kind of spot for any units moving this way, but also just kind of scout for expansion. Same Ubivator is attempting to do on this right side. Maybe going to get some early economy damage done here, though. Nope, the laser tower was enough of a deterrent to stop Blodir going in. Is the same going to be the case here for this? Yep. Although the automatic here is going to cause some problems. A very, very early Centurion will do a great job at dealing with any sorts of grunts that manage to try and push through. Some economy damage does manage to take place as this triple mechs gets taken out. Centurion does a great job, but unfortunately grunts do manage to make it into the base. They skirt round the commander and manage to get in. They may get... Oh, the construction turret ended up with 2% health left at the end. A couple more shots, if anything, would have been enough to take that out. And that would have been a big amount of damage to inflict so early on. It's not like there's a lot of metal in it, 200, which, you know, when we compare that to the Centurion is about the same. But it's more of the sheer amount of energy that goes into one of those. Is that more than building a constructor, or more than building 3 constructors, if anything. It's a very early investment to lose out on, which will put the build power of Ubivator behind. Luckily enough, he manages to keep it and is able to secure his flanks significantly here. However, Ubivator just letting 11 grunts just walk right into his base, hoping that this Centurion will be enough to stop it moving in, but to be fair, Centurion is very effective at the role of killing swarming stuff like grunts and pawns. We see it's already taken 2 out. But not enough. I didn't see, unfortunately, what happened there, but it looked like a couple of grunts managed to get round and took out some very early energy converters. And these forces having to push back. This grunt... Oh, no, this grunt. Sorry, this tick. Surprisingly leaving the constructor alone. And so far, Blodir doing a great job at expanding and applying pressure to Ubivator where he's unable to match. Now, the Centurion is one thing that the core lab here does not have to counter this sort of tactic. It's a very specific tool that only ARM has. So if we see a lot of pawns coming out from Ubivator, it'll be interesting to see how Blodir plans to counter that. And as noticed already, this is very difficult to defend this map due to how big it is. Now, for those that aren't aware, grunts here actually have a slight range advantage over pawns, with their range being 230 as opposed to the pawns 180, which means welly microed grunts can outrange pawns significantly, and you are actually able to keep pawns at bay. However, the speed of 81 is not as fast as the speed of 87. So pawns, if microed well, can manage to catch up to grunts, but they've kind of got to go all in at the same time and hope for the micro not to be well on Blodir's side. And that is what's happened now, and the pawns managed to get in. They've inflicted significant damage here. And still a couple of pawns left, and only 4 grunts left. And now this has obviously donated a ridiculous amount of metal, just sat outside the base. And only 500 metal is a lot of metal to be given away so early on. Bombers do come in, get some wind damage here. Early AA had already gone up though, so both bombers get shot down very quickly. But this is going to force Ubivator to invest even more on a different type of unit, some form of AA now to deal with the shurikens. And talking about unit specifics, as you all probably know, Shuriken's a Cortex specific unit here. Very, very good at doing its job at EMPing units, but they are very, very fragile, taking only a single AA rocket to take out. Now, Ubivator getting this middle metal point of 5 metal, and interesting tactics taking place here. Blodir is expanding to the left and right, ignoring the middle. Ubivator basically just pushing straight down the middle. This means that Blodir is going to have more territory to try and control, which is going to make it difficult for him. But at the same time, it is going to give him more metal as opposed to just going straight down the middle. But it does mean that Ubivator's front line, this middle section, is going to be very easily surrounded from all sides if his plan goes successful. And the metal converters again get sniped by a bomber. And the bomber does go down after getting that hit, but Ubivator's going to need his own air, which we see him start to do. And luckily enough, these shurikens also kind of counter the Centurions because they just EMP them. They can't do anything. Shurikens are basically a force multiplier, being able to just completely immobilize half your opponent's army, meaning that you can fight in a situation where you would not be at the advantage and still come out on top. Surprisingly enough, Blodir has completely lost this north side. Still holding strong on the south, but only for so long. He is actually transferred over to vehicle production, which makes sense on such a high metal-rich map. But one thing we are noticing is that Blodir lost this metal point very, very early on into the game, and is yet to still rebuild it. He has an idle constructor here. He could send that out, just rebuild it, but no, still yet to do it. There's also metal points up here that is on a relatively safely secured high ground, and is yet to actually do anything with that either. So surprising that he is letting all of these resources go to waste. He's been spending a lot of time microing his forces, now pushing into the middle. And we'll get some good damage. He kind of wants to get this +5 metal extractor, because leaving that up and running for such a long period of time will not be good. You're just helping your opponent have so much more. The 5 is, equivalent to 2 of the standard metal extractors. Now this is a big push coming in here from a huge group of pawns. We'll see how much damage they are actually able to inflict. The geothermal, unfortunately, wasn't finished for Blodir yet, so it will not cause a massive explosion and just disappears. Construction bot does get taken out. And unfortunately, that metal extractor stays alive. Ubivator unable to finish off that metal extractor. But one thing that's going to be a bit of an advantage here for Blodir, being Cortex, he has the ability to build armed metal extractors. And this will help defend his flanks significantly without having to invest too much micro time. And any run-bys that happen to come past will get significantly damaged by them. As we see 2 here. This is way too big a group to deal with by just an armed metal extractor, but this is what happens when you leave a bunch of Reclaim on your opponent's front door. Meanwhile, he's trying to push in the middle with some tanks. Seems that some tanks managed to get resurrected here. And this is a big push going on in the middle. This is a very good point. Self-D of that LLT would have been a significant impact to this group of forces, but unfortunately not. But a very good push here is forcing Ubivator right back into his base. These tanks will not be able to get any further in, and this is a bit of a mistake, leaving them exposed so far. At some point you have to decide what would be better, leaving them running to die for your opponent to reclaim, or self-destructing them so your opponent cannot get the reclaim whatsoever, because there's, 141 in each of those brute wrecks. Not only that, your opponent can just revive them, and you're giving them more units on their side. Ubivator's comm, though, extremely exposed. And good D-guns there, managing to take out 2 brutes. And more of them just getting destroyed. This metal extractor, 10 minutes from when it was destroyed, still not been recapped. And this is a big mistake from Blodir here. Also, as you see, Blodir yet to still take this hill or retake any of these metal extractors. Meanwhile, Ubivator here with an air constructor going around, capping over half the map. Even getting the 2 hill mexes that we spoke of. And if Blodir was wasted, that would explain a lot right now. I've seen Blodir play a lot better than this. But just because you've had a few drinks doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play bad. A lot of gunships coming out from Ubivator. And unfortunately, Blodir is now on more of a defensive position after that great initial harassment causing Ubivator to be contained. Has now basically made Blodir have to fall right back to his starting quarter of the map. And it's not looking good for Blodir about now. Gunships clearly just sat on a fight move as they haven't been targeting the AA that's being built or the constructor, and all of those gunships do get taken out very swiftly, leaving still a large amount of reclaim right next to Mr. Blodir. 2.15k. It's enough to probably transition to Tech 2 if he had some stored up. Not currently. Let's take a quick look at the stats here on the right hand side as we wait for this to kind of form up in the middle or on the right here. We can see that metal income is currently in Ubivator's favor by a significant amount, but when you actually look at metal produced here, currently there's 5k difference. Bear in mind again that there's 2k here, so that's going to close pretty quickly if he sucks all that metal up. Energy produced though, 162 3k difference in energy. Obviously you produce quite a lot of energy, so that's not necessarily such a big deal, but just something to bear in mind. An army value, 4k difference. And you can see that army value actually starting to group up in the middle here. And it's not looking good for Blodir, and commentators still pinging about the fact that this very early metal point has still not been capped. It's not like it's an amazing thing, the fact that he still capped it. Like it is only 2 metal, but with it being so close to the base, it is a very simple mistake that compounds the longer that he doesn't claim it for. And it's not like it's going to lose him the game, but the longer it's not there, obviously, the less metal he has, the less units he can build. And it's just not very good from such a high-level player. Ubivator in a very, very strong position now. Not only does he have strong control over this middle section, but he's basically got control of this quadrant as well, leaving Blodir with a very, very middling amount of space under his control. Not only that, but with those air constructors that he had, he was completely able to just take over the entire map's metal extractors. The fact that he's got this one here with a radar is enabling him to see all of the units that go from his base to this flank. It's a tremendous radar, and Blodir as well in this bottom right hand corner, just sending units up here to die. And he's lost so many units there just because he was unable to pay attention to everything going on. And this is just, well, it's a micro issue, an APM issue at the time. There's so much going on in a 1v1 like this. And with it being such a large map, you're having to pay attention to so many things at one time. You know, like, where are my airs? Where is his air? Can I deploy these shurikens or not? Yes or no? Where do I need forces? How's my economy going? You know, there's just so much you need to concentrate on, and something always has to give. It's just deciding what's the best thing to give, and we unfortunately missed this. Ubivator's comm very close to death. 21% health, and it did look like there was a big tank push into the middle. And Ubivator almost loses his commander, which that would have been the end of the game. You see here this flanking push coming down from the middle, causing Blodir's expansion a bit of problems. There are a lot of resbots down here, though, instantly ready to just control all of those wrecks as soon as they're freed up. Now, another thing that could potentially be an advantage for Blodir here, if he manages to make it to Tech 2, he could turn these geothermals into Cerberuses, which would make the kind of corner that he's in a very strong bastion of defense. And Hero Lasher. Yeah, this one Lasher on 4% health that's somehow not dead yet. Oh, never mind. Tried. But as we quickly glance over the bases of the two players, we can just see the difference in how their game's going. Look at the amount of wind on here, and Tech 2 already out. Whereas when we compare that to Blodir's side, there is nowhere near as much energy production, and it's not looking good. Currently a massive fight taking place on this north side. Huge vehicle losses again for Blodir. And with losing the wreck fields as well, it's just going to enable resbots to come in and try and make a go of it. All these tanks pushing into the middle now, rolling bombs. And there goes all of Blodir's army. That might have been a very good play for the commander there. But unfortunately, that was a very amazingly timed bomb. T2 Constructor going straight for the middle, planning to build a pop-up defense really far forward. And Blodir just massively on the back foot, starting his own transition to Tech 2. All of these forces, unfortunately, by having the low ground here, getting absolutely devastated by the maces that were up on the hill. And this entire force here getting absolutely destroyed. And with that, Blodir is going to lose this corner here as well. Losing him another 4 metal extractors when Ubivator is aware that his units have moved off. They are all very low, though. This one Lasher is not gonna be enough. He did actually maybe micro that to hit the low health units, but unfortunately, again, Reclaim as it goes 4K now in this right side here that's completely under Ubivator's control. And Blodir actually deciding at that point, yep, it's a lost game, calling the GG. And this just shows that early control and just feeding metal to your opponent by just sending loads and loads of harasses earlier on doesn't necessarily work out in your favor. Most of the forces coming back at Blodir were resurrected units that he was able to just multiply his army, Ubivator was, and that basically helped Ubivator take control of the rest of the map. So self-destructing your units when you know you're going to lose them, very big thing, denies wreckage, and that could have helped Blodir out quite a bit there. Unfortunately, that's the end of this one. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.